Hello and welcome to this live special edition of Big Time Basketball. We are coming to you from the Big Ten tournament here in Indianapolis, and this is a very different tournament from years past. In fact, the entire sports world feeling the ramifications of the coronavirus. Such is the case here in Indy. Take a look over here over my left shoulder. Ordinarily, this would be a buzz with activity. Fans coming in for the 12 noon Eastern game. No one coming in. There will be some friends and family allowed. A very small amount of spectators will be here at Bankers Life Fieldhouse for these games. And that was not the case last night. That was before the announcement from the NCAA, and then the trickle effect down to the Big Ten, several other conferences, and of course the NBA suspending their season outright. But the games are going to be played as planned today. 4 games in the second round of the Big Ten tournament, and no fans, as we mentioned. Last night, it went on as scheduled. There were 2 games, both played with fans in the stands, and that first one went to Minnesota. The Gophers come back and knock off Northwestern. In fact, pull away in fine fashion in the second half. Minnesota survives and advances 74-57.
We've been playing the same all year. I think that we're playing good basketball. We've just had a couple of bounces not go our way, but I think it's a good team. I really do. I think that you look at all of our numbers across the board, obviously, a young team that's played a very, very tough schedule and just had a couple bounces not go our way. But I think we're a good team and we're playing well.
Really proud of this group. It's not about the wins and losses this year. We wanted to win more. We fought all year long. That's what I'm so proud about. That's what I'm excited about, these young guys sitting up here. There was never a day throughout any losing streaks or tough losses or whatever we went through, there was never a day that I came in the gym that they didn't want to get better. They didn't want to get to work, and they didn't want to keep fighting and keep playing.
Brighter days ahead for the Wildcats. Meanwhile, in the second game last night, it was Indiana against the Nebraska team that had to bring up some football players to fill out the roster. And the Cornhuskers were game in the first half. In fact, they led by 6 before a 20-1 run by the Hoosiers. They run away with it in the end, 89-64. And speaking of running away, Fred Hoiberg, head coach of the Huskers, actually had to leave the floor. He took ill, actually felt sick before the game. It got worse. He ended up being taken to a hospital. The Cornhuskers team was actually quarantined for a bit, but it turns out it was influenza A, nothing to do with the coronavirus. Hoiberg was released, but no post-game reaction from the head coach or any of his players.
Our guys did a good job of kind of hanging in there, and then right when we were able to get a few stops finally, we capitalized. Devontae was a big part of the end of the first half. To start the second half, Rob was a big part of the second half. He got going and made some really good plays. But to be able to extend the lead at the end and then the beginning, I think showed that we were able to kind of put our foot down defensively and get some stops. They're a hard guard for us. And then we were able to play through a run in the second half, which was good. They made it a little tighter with about 8 to go. And then we were able to make a couple plays. I think that's the big thing this time of year for our team, who can step up and make free throws, who can step up and make a couple plays when you need a play, offensively or defensively. And tonight, what I was proud of was we have a lot of guys in the game doing good things, not just one.
An important win for the Hoosiers, maybe solidifying their spot in the field of 68 for next week's NCAA tournament. And after the game, you noticed it was only head coach Archie Miller at the podium. He did not bring his players out there. In fact, leaving the court, they all were hit with the hand sanitizer. They got back to the team hotel as soon as they possibly could. That sets the stage for today. 4 big games tipping off within the hour. We'll see some of the top teams in action tomorrow, but today still 4 games. It will all start here at 12 noon. The 8-9 game, always exciting. Michigan 19-12 overall. Rutgers 20-11, one of the surprise teams, but Michigan, a team that's been playing much better as of late.
My mind is always working on what's the next thing, how can we improve, or I could have done this better, or how can I make sure that our guys understand that what we're teaching and how we have to make it into a carryover. And my brain is always working. So am I nervous about this upcoming tournament? No.
Stay the course, keep plugging away, 1-0. You guys don't want to hear that, but that's what it is. And that's where we got to remain humble, appreciative and thankful, and these guys have done that all year.
Also in action today, it will be Minnesota after their win last night. They'll be taking on the 5 seed Iowa. That should be a contest as well. So let's talk about it. And who better to hear the Hawkeye side of things than Adam Rosso, our buddy from the Next Star Nation. We saw you back in studio a couple weeks ago. Now here we are at the Big Ten tournament. And first, just your feelings about how strange this is. You see no fans coming in. It's going to be a much different atmosphere come tip-off. And this is a whole new world, isn't it?
I told you when we were walking in, it was a surreal day yesterday. It might be a surreal day today too. You know, this is going to be a lot like those preseason scrimmages that are closed to the media. Not really any fans. There's just going to be parents basically. I don't know what to expect. You know, you would think a team like Indiana or even Purdue would have a little more fans here today. Now they don't get that advantage, so I don't know if that benefits their opponents or not. As far as Iowa's concerned, they've obviously played well at home. They have a great fan base that usually travels, so we'll see. It's really kind of uncharted territory for everybody.
The one thing I'm excited about is I've heard the salty language from Coach McCaffrey before, and now that will be on full display. We'll get to hear some of the ins and outs of his, interactions with his team and the officials as well. And that maybe you got to be a little bit more careful when you hear the bench down the way there. They can hear your signals and perhaps calling out your plays as well.
I think that's going to be an interesting aspect for the television broadcast. Like that might be a cool kind of sub-angle to this. Like you get to hear Coach McCaffrey, you get to hear them barking out the plays, you maybe get to hear a little bit of trash talk. You might get to hear that stuff. So I think that's kind of a positive to come out of all of this. But yeah, it could make them watch themselves a little more. Maybe it tones down some of the rhetoric, especially towards officials. We saw in that game on Sunday in Champaign with Iowa and Illinois that, man, the officials were being worked, and then you saw it get heated. You saw double technicals, 2 sets of double technicals. So probably won't see that today against the Gophers, but it should be an interesting matchup, and I think starting with obviously Garza and Daniel Oturu inside. Yeah,
Coach McCaffrey, a hard-nosed guy, and that kind of trickles down. You can see his thumbprint on that team. Right now, you want to be playing your best ball in March. We talked about this a couple weeks ago. How is this Iowa team playing right now?
They lost their last 2 in the regular season. Lost at home against Purdue, which I think everybody can say was a terrible matchup. They played awful at Mackey Arena. A couple months ago, got blown up by 36. And then they play at home on senior night, and they lose by 9 points. They really were down by double digits the whole game. So not a very good performance. That's not going to be a problem against Minnesota. But I think the thing we saw the other night against Illinois that could crop up would be offensive rebounding. They gave up, 13 offensive rebounds to the Illini. They gave up 17, I believe, to Penn State a couple weeks ago. That's really been a trend here lately that Iowa hasn't been able to keep the other team off the offensive boards. And Minnesota, they're not a very good shooting team, so that's really going to be critical because the Gophers, even though the last night I think they shot 50% from 3 against Northwestern, they haven't done that all year, so keeping them off the offensive glass is going to be the key for Iowa today.
And Iowa, of course, will have some fresher legs, having not played last night while Minnesota did. We talked about what a special season Garza was having. He gets recognized by the league with some honors. And also, March is when you see stars shine in conference tournaments and in the big dances. Is he ready, you think, for the big stage?
I think he is. You'll see it today. The way he plays and the angles, if you guys haven't watched him too much or haven't seen him in person, his angles and just the way he plays basketball mentally, I guess, would be the best way. He'll get position. He gets guys in spots where they can't get him, in trouble foul-wise, or they can't block his shot. So I think that today against Oturu. I think Daniel Oturu, though, might have a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't first team all Big Ten. He tweeted about it. He wasn't very happy about it. This will kind of give him one more chance to shine against obviously the conference player of the year and what could be the national player of the year in Garza.
Now, you're not under oath here, Adam, as you well know, but Iowa wins today, yes or no?
I think so. I think it's going to be close, though. I really think Minnesota, the way they've shot the ball against Northwestern and then in the season finale against Nebraska, could give Iowa some problems. But I think in the end, the Hawkeyes end up pulling away in the second half.
Adam Rosso, don't run off. I got to buy you a cup of coffee. I knocked his coffee over here a second ago. And we'll wrap up with you in just a minute. But first, let's talk about those other games, the night games. You'll have Purdue in action, which would have been perhaps a home court advantage somewhat. But no, it will be Purdue taking on Ohio State in the 7-10 matchup. Both teams hitting town yesterday. The Buckeyes 21-10 overall. Purdue coming in, they need to win some games. They need to win all of these, or at least 3, according to head coach Matt Painter. They got into town last night, busing down from West Lafayette and preparing to play in a somewhat empty field house.
We had a tough loss other night, but that's the inconsistency of play in a really good conference. Sometimes the other team just is pretty good and plays better than you, but I don't think there's anything different. But obviously, we're in a situation where, we have to at least win 3 games or win the conference tournament to get in my opinion.
It's, maybe the best, conference tournament out there. I know there's others, ACC, that are good as well, but it would obviously mean a lot. We don't want to get the cart before the horse. It's kind of taking the next step. We've got a great Purdue team that we've got to play well against to give ourselves a chance to win.
Chris Holtmann, no stranger to Indianapolis, having coached at Butler. But that brings us to our big-time game of the day, and that's going to be IU, fresh off their must-win game last night, running away from Nebraska. And they'll get Penn State, a team that has really struggled as of late. They've lost 3 in a row, 5 of their last 6 after getting to the highest ranking in school history. So we'll see which team steps up in this one here this evening, the Nittany Lions or the Hoosiers.
You'd like to be a hot team right now, like some teams in Wisconsin, right? You'd like to be Michigan State. You'd like to be a little hotter going into the Big Ten tournament. But I also think there's some really valuable learning lessons. Maybe we got a little full of ourselves. Maybe, we got a little complacent. I don't know. I'm not sure. We're trying to figure it out. But success definitely got to us a little bit. If you would have told me in October I was going to be 11-9 and 21 wins and a top 25 for half the year, I'd probably say, where do I sign up for that?
The energy level and the adrenaline and feeling good about yourself playing in postseason, is upon you. You get an opportunity to play against a really good Penn State team tomorrow. I would say it'd probably be a heck of an environment in here, but I think it's going to be more of a close scrimmage, it seems like, which is unfortunate. But we'll be ready to go, like I said. And Penn State's had a heck of a season. They got a heck of a team, so we got a good challenge.
4 good challenges today, and there'll be more of the same tomorrow. That's when we'll see the top 4 seeds in action. Wisconsin at noon will get the winner of Michigan and Rutgers. Illinois awaiting the winner of Minnesota and Iowa. Michigan State, they got hot late. They'll take on the victor of Purdue and Ohio State. And then you'll have Maryland taking on Indiana or Penn State. I like the Hoosiers in that one. I think they're getting hot at the right time. They still have something to prove. Wrapping up with Adam Rosso. And Adam, I think the exciting thing we're going to look for today is how teams respond to that kind of bland environment. Yep. Who can play. Some teams feed off emotion, some teams feed off a crowd, and sometimes you'll feed off the negative energy on the road. IU at Purdue, I think, will suffer the most from not having fans here. But let's be honest, this is a central location. A lot of fans had planned to come here. A lot of fans had planned to travel. And it's just going to be a very different situation for the teams, the fans, the referees, and the coaches. What are you looking for today?
Sports are all about routines. I think any of these guys will tell you, everybody's got a routine, whether it's pregame, postgame, on the road, neutral sites. Now it's kind of all thrown into something different. Like, their parents are going to be here, no fans. Everything's going to be different. And I think whichever team, whichever program can encompass what you're saying, like just playing for themselves and really channeling the lack of energy into a positive, I think that's going to be the important thing all weekend. And I think the depth of the league is going to show up today. I wouldn't be surprised if at least 2 of those lower seed teams win. I agree with you on Indiana. They have something to play for, so I'd look for them to maybe get a victory. And then maybe Purdue. I mean, Purdue and Ohio State, it's a decent matchup. I know Ohio State's metrics put them into like the top 10 or 15 teams in the country, but Purdue also has something to play for. As you said, they have to probably get to at least the finals to have a shot on the bubble on Sunday, so we'll see. But I think that the lower seeded teams, a couple of them will win today.
Who I really feel sorry for today, the scalpers. No business whatsoever out there on the streets of Indianapolis. And if you did have tickets, all of those tickets will be refunded, even tickets from last night's game if you did not use those. So the Big Ten will take care of its fans, and that's a huge part of what makes this conference so successful. We'll see how it goes down. We will have some shows coming up for you for the rest of the weekend here. Tomorrow we will be right back out here at 11 a.m. Saturday, 12 noon, and then Sunday, Championship Sunday. It's going to be at 2:30 here on Big Time Basketball. Always great to have Adam Rosso here with us live. It's going to be a strange weekend, a strange tournament, but come Sunday, we expect to crown a champion. We'll see how it all goes down. In the meantime, reporting live from the Big Ten tournament, I'm Chris Hagan. We'll see you next time on Big Time Basketball.